All right, welcome to the relationship show. This woman writes this post. She says, "My husband, who's 29, stood by and laughed as I was tackled and humped by his friend's 150-pound Great Dane. I am seriously considering divorce over this." I've got one Great Dane story. It was like when I was first got into real estate, it's like they give you like kind of like the crap jobs. And so I was working for Keller Williams, and they had me doing what was called a broker price opinion. So basically, like these homes that didn't have any price, and like the bank, they were having trouble with like the houses were basically to go into foreclosure, and they needed to know what the prices were for, or an estimated price based on like a broker's opinion of value. So basically, what I'd have to do is go over to these houses unannounced and then look at the thing and like take notes, take pictures of people's houses, and then I have to bring those back and then put it through like a software that we can like determine the value. But basically I'm almost like having to go trespass on these properties, or at least show up unannounced on these properties. And so I pull up to this place, and it was like a little bit of a rundown area. And then all of a sudden, like I'm taking pictures of this guy's house and already a little like kind of on nerve here. And guy pulls up in this beat up truck, but there's two Great Danes in the back of his pickup. And it was like, oh shit, it's like, because I had already encountered something that same day of this guy like blowing up on me. And it was just like a horrible job for starting out. Um, but the Great Danes are cool and stuff, but it's like, man, those dogs are big, and I don't know them, and it's like, wow, like it was just one of those experiences that you totally remember, and it's like totally got you out of doing the broker price opinions and into sales. But this situation, it's just kind of a funny title here. Saying that she's seriously considering divorce over him laughing that the big dog jumped on her or something. But she says, on Sunday, we went over to my husband's friend's house. He has a dog, and I absolutely despise it. I'm not an animal person to begin with. And they both promised me that the dog would be locked up and I wouldn't have to worry about it bothering me. I think the dog is able to sense something about me. Yeah, they can read things for sure, not liking it or being afraid of it, and it pays extra attention to me. um I'm not sure if was because we were early, but we let ourselves in, and the dog was right there in front of me as I came through the door. I turned around to leave as quickly as I could, but my husband had shut the door behind us, and I felt like I was trapped. So she's really uncomfortable in this situation, around this dog. She said, I honestly thought the dog was going to attack me, but it actually forced me down by sort of lunging at me, and then literally pressed its feet into my shoulders and starting doing a humping motion. So it's like the dog obviously can tell that you're totally afraid, you're running away, your body language is like moving away. And if you look at like Dog Trainer, I watched this Dog Trainer show the other day. I just had something to do on Netflix, but he was talking about body language and how that really communicates to dogs. And if you're afraid or you back off, it's like the dog will come towards you. And so she's obviously backing off, and the dog comes towards you. And it seems like a little bit of an exaggeration as far as your fear. It's like, yeah, it's a huge dog. But it could be perceived, just kind of a humorous thing, because it doesn't seem like there's much harm that really could be done, even though it's has the strength to knock you down or whatever. But it's like, just all I could really see, I was barely laying on my stomach, was my husband's feet, and I thought he was frozen with fear because he wasn't moving. And then I could clearly hear him laughing. Yeah, because it's like, if it was like a serious danger situation, yeah, you could see where he stepped in, and I get it. You feel uncomfortable, and he probably should have recognized that. His friend came running in, and I could hear him yelling at the dog to get off me, and my husband was still laughing. His friend was pulling the dog, but my husband actually was crumpled up on the floor laughing. He found it so funny. Okay. Finally, he got the dog off me, and my husband actually had the nerve to say that was one of the funniest things he'd ever seen. I left the house and drove home and left my husband there. His friend texted me how sorry he was and he was worried about me, so please call him and let him know I'm okay. I didn't hear from my husband at all until he came home after watching the hockey game. So he doesn't think it's a very big deal. He says, I tried to calm and tell him how hurt I was, that not only did he do nothing to help me, but that he laughed at me and made it so much worse. He actually started laughing again and said something like, come on, you cheated on me with a red dick dog. How is that not hilarious? I grabbed my keys and can't. Yeah, okay. So he totally brushed off her emotions. Like, it could be perceived as a humorous, funny situation, mainly because it wasn't. He didn't see a danger with it, at least. But what he did to kind of aggravate it is like she knows she's obviously upset, and so it's almost like he's like picking at her. So it's like he didn't take her seriously when she wanted to be taken seriously. He didn't listen to her when she wanted to be listened to. He basically almost made fun of her. People don't like to be laughed at, especially when it comes to insecurities or really anything. Really, people don't really like to be the butt of the joke or laughed at. So we'll continue. She says, I grabbed my keys and came to my parents' house, and I have not called him, and he hasn't called me. I'm so humiliated. It's like, look at the words you're using too. It's like the words we use often shape the experiences that we have. So it's like her experience is she's being humiliated. His experience is more like, oh, that was pretty funny. And like he didn't really take it very serious. And so hurt at what happened, but also how callous and uncaring he has been. My parents are telling me not to make a rash decision, but I am seriously thinking about calling a divorce attorney tomorrow and getting proceedings started. It's like, okay. Was there, it's like, did this stack up? Is there a bunch of other things that aren't going well? But sometimes it's like we get caught up in feelings, if you will, of just like taking ourselves too seriously, or or taking ourselves not serious enough in his case. But from his perspective, it's like he really doesn't, see her point of view, and then she doesn't see his point of view, and so it is a disagreement. And now there's emotion involved. So I mean, personally, I would look at it from a standpoint of not taking it very seriously, because I wouldn't see a true, danger in the situation. Like if the dog was like had a history of like biting people and it was that big, then yes. But it's a matter of opinion, and it's like a matter of what the situation was like. So this one is like kind of you have to decide on your own. It's like if this was enough to make him not trust you or trust him, then maybe, maybe it's not a good match in the first place, and maybe you're just sick of him not taking things seriously, or sick of a lot of other factors that you're not telling us in the paragraph or in the post you wrote. So it's like, well, you kind of have to take all the things into consideration, and then make a decision from that standpoint. But that's kind of, it is what it is. It's kind of like he's not taking it seriously because he doesn't think that it was a very dangerous situation, and he thought you were overreacting, and you were genuinely scared. So it's like, you can either talk to him, give him some space. I give him some space. I give a few days before you make any decisions. Just kind of let things settle, let emotion settle. Usually, give yourself 5 days or so, and usually emotion can settle within that period of time. And then you can kind of look at things objectively and then see what you want to do from there.